Okay, good day everyone. Welcome, thanks for joining. Kindly introduce yourself, your location where you're joining from. I think this should be the last class or second to the last class of the Precision Agriculture Incubation Program, Cohort 2 2024. And today, um, Okay, so today we are going to be talking about personal and corporate branding, leveraging LinkedIn, and we have a very proficient uh, personality in the house. I think she has results. I mean, she's result driven when it comes to LinkedIn, leveraging LinkedIn for personal growth and personal brand. Yeah, she has about 26,000 followers on LinkedIn. So she's going to be exposing us to some of the strategies, workable templates that we can actually use to grow our brand uh, on both personal and a corporate brand. Yes. So, but before I do proper introduction, so let me quickly talk about the the program. So, all right. So, as we all know, next week Monday we are going to be having our field practicals. All we've been doing so far is online facilitation section from our global faculties around the world. So we are going to be doing the practicals next week. So it's going to be extended from Monday 25th next week, Monday till Wednesday 27th. And this is happening at the Federal University of Agriculture in Abeokuta, that's Ogun State, Nigeria, FUNAB. So part of the things you are going to get if you are actually willing to join, and if you have not yet registered, you can still do to register before Monday to actually join the online class. So you can do to drop a message for me on the group or communicate after this uh, conversation, this meeting or masterclass rather. So you're going to get a copy of the Drone Professional 3 book rather, co-authored by the Flying Farmer alongside other global professionals on drone technology around the world. And this is unlike their current best thinking in respect to their career. So the book is more like a compendium crossing different phases in agriculture, mining, security, medicals, and etc. So also Monday we are going to be getting hands-on computer-based trading. This is a simulation platform where you are going to get accustomed to the use of drone controls, understanding safety features, regulations, and basic procedures and pre-briefing before we get into the practicals. So after the simulation, we'll be doing the next day. So we'll be doing the field training, how we use drones to collect data. Then after that, we're going to be doing the processing, the data processing, how we process the data and turn them into an actionable insight, something meaningful that can actually steer action. So after that, you're also going to be getting a certificate for this program. This program, Precision Agriculture Incubation Program, is endorsed by the International Society for Precision Agriculture. That's ISPA. And okay, so after that you're going to get certificates. So after certificates you're going to be okay. We're also going to be covering mapping, that's aerial mapping of drone, data processing. I think I've mentioned that earlier. You're also going to witness the first-hand drone spraying solution, how drones can actually be used to apply crop protection solutions like pesticides, it could be insecticides, herbicides, fungicides, and the likes. Also, we're going to be doing the fixed-wing drone building. This requires teamwork. So be joining a team to actually work on how to model or build a fixed-wing drone. Yes, aside the model. So lastly, integrated representation is part of our sponsor and also our supporting partners, and they're actually going to be giving 10 slots to students who actually put their best feet forward in this training on both the theoretical class and the practical class. So, and after this, you're going to be writing an exam. So the test is going to come. It's also going to be in form of Google form, whereby you are going to attend to these questions just for your assessment and for result. Okay. So, all right. Okay, so let me talk about Precision Field Academy. So this is Precision Field Academy. It's a community where we train and build the capacity of young professionals. And at Precision Field Academy, we have this vision to create a world where every young person, regardless of their background, has the opportunity to become a digitally savvy farmer or professional, driving sustainable and equitable growth in their communities through the transformative power of technology. And our mission is to raise the next generation of farmers that are tech inclined and digitally savvy. So at Precision Field Academy, we run it as a social enterprise where we train and build the capacity of young professionals in youth in modern and emerging technologies for the future of work and ultimately to lead with precision agriculture. So we have got three methodologies. Number one is education and knowledge sharing. Number two is training and skill development. Number three is coaching and mentorship. Then besides this, we have certain tech skill in focus, part of which is drone technology. So we're actually harnessing the power of drone technology to collect data from the hero perspective, things that naked human's eyes cannot see or can maybe see in the later time. So drones can give you insight into this by providing a comprehensive information through this data. And aside that, we have GIS and remote sensing. This talking about ArcGIS and QGIS. How you can leverage this GIS application in agriculture to actually enhance precision agricultural practices. We also have data science. Data science here revolves around various arrays of data in agriculture, talking about plants classification, crop yield, or you want to know crop nutrient deficiency, disease prediction, and all of various kinds of data. It's actually classified under data science in agriculture, and this is part of what we teach and also look into. Aside this, we have robotics and Internet of Things. We had some classes recently on digital technology for livestock management, monitoring poultry and cattle temperature, poultry pen, understanding the quality of air quality, monitoring air quality, and all of this stuff. Yeah, so part of what we are actually looking at. So in raising young precision agriculture leaders who develop solutions to actually counter the problems we have in agriculture on both crop cultivation, livestock, fishery, and forestry. So also we have artificial intelligence and machine learning. This is all about how we use photogrammetry platforms or data processing softwares to actually do things like plant counts. You can do plant population counts to actually know the exact number of crop you have on the field, the ones that are viable, the ones that are not. You can do them in respect to their size, the canopy size, or the species of crops you have on the field. So with artificial intelligence and machine learning models, yeah, we actually get this done. And we have a course at Precision Field Academy titled Phyto Mapping Masterclass. This is strictly for, we could say, crop psychologists, agronomists, farm managers, and agriculture researchers. So this is part of what they can actually look into. It's a very robust course that will give them more comprehensive details, because you get to learn more about the application of sensors like multispectral, hyperspectral, thermal imaging what can they really do in agriculture, what value can they really bring, and how can they enhance farming practices. Yes, through this course you get exposed to that. And lastly, we have enterprise development here. This is in focus to uh, give you like a comprehensive knowledge around the business operation of agri-tech companies. So through this we have okay, so what's the motivation at Precision Field Academy, or what's the motivation why we're running Precision Field Academy? We understand that there is a skill gap that needs to be closed, and young professionals need to build skills on both technical and enterprise skill, even soft skill, to actually be relevant in the future of work. And also, observing the trend is not enough. So youth need to be directly involved. They need to become an enabler and player in the fourth agricultural revolution, and not just mere observer. So also, technology can actually be a platform to unlock the potential of African agriculture. So riding on the wing of technology, yes, we can increase agricultural productivity. So why should you join us? We are creating the future we want in agriculture. Secondly, we also connect you to the world of information, which comes down to opportunities, volunteership, scholarship, internship opportunities, which come on both local and international scale for your career growth through Precision Field Academy community. And also we have skill development. We share skill development through project collaboration, community interactions, university-wide workshops and symposiums on digital and precision agriculture. Also, we give you access to coaching and mentorship from industry leaders and professionals around the world. So this program is also part of what you stand to gain registering from programs like this. So at Precision Field Academy, we are building a community of young tech inclined and digitally savvy farmers. So let's get to today's work. Our speaker is actually on standby. So today we're going to be talking about personal and corporate branding, leveraging LinkedIn. And our speaker for today is her name is Kat James. She has a proven track record, and she's also a LinkedIn influencer, and she's a very reputable person within the drone industry, even not just in the African context now, I mean on the global scale. She happens to be the founder of 400 Feet. So let me quickly read through a short profile. Alright, so Kat James is a drone and geospatial data consultant based in Nairobi, Kenya, East Africa. She was a member of the 2022 LinkedIn Creator Accelerator program. So Kat has over a decade experience working at the intersection of emerging technologies and global health. So working with over a dozen countries around the world with her expertise in drones and spatial data collection and processing. She is transforming the healthcare delivery, improving emergency preparedness and response, fighting climate change, and reducing food security issues around the world. So Kat has over 26,000 professional LinkedIn followers. All right, so it's just a short introduction about her, but I believe during the course of the teaching, in the presentation, yes, we are going to get much more intricate details about this. All right, Ms. Kat, welcome. It's really great to have you here once again. Thanks so much for honoring our invitation. It's really good to have you. You have the floor, ma. So.
Of course, it's great to be here. Thank you for the introduction.
All right, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Let me share my screen.
Okay, you can upload your slide while I.
Oh, do I need to upload my slides, or can I share my screen?
Okay, let me bring it to the stage.
Oh, perfect. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen. I can see your screen is visible.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Well, thank you again, Joseph, for that wonderful introduction. Um, I'm so happy to be here. And I'm hearing an echo. Joseph, can you maybe mute me on your end?
Come again, please.
That's right.
Hello.
Yep. Hello. I think there's an echo coming from your side. So if you can mute yourself.
It's it's echoing. Please let me use. Hello.
Hello? Yes, that's better. Thank you.
Okay.
Amazing. But so yes, we are here today talking about personal and corporate branding, leveraging LinkedIn. And so Joseph just gave a great introduction, but just a quick review. My name is Kat James, and I'm the founder of 400 Feet, which is a drone and data consultancy based in Nairobi, Kenya. I'm American, and so I'm an FAA and a KCA certified drone operator. And my background is actually in public health, information science, and GIS. And in addition to running my company, I also create Drones for Good content on LinkedIn. And I primarily operate in the Drones for Good ecosystem. And so some of the organizations that I work with are companies like We Robotics, the World Bank, the Drones Doing Good Alliance, Globeam, etc. And so to start, I just wanted to share a little bit of my background to give you context of how I got to where I am today. So I did a double master's in public health and information science in graduate school. And when I graduated, I started working as a geospatial analyst on some maternal health projects in Ghana, Liberia, and Zambia. And kind of during that time, I was primarily doing GIS work, but I started flying drones for fun, doing aerial photography. And as you can imagine, I saw the overlaps with mapping early on. But I didn't immediately get into the drone industry. I continued to work in the digital health space for a number of years, working both as a consultant on different projects, as well as working as a product manager at a digital health company. But after I had been flying drones for many years, and I found that it was really the thing that I was the most passionate about. So while I was working at my other job, I was really interested in figuring out, how do I make that transition into the drone industry? And in particular, how do I make that transition into the drone industry? And then how do I start my own business? So because this was quite a transition, I decided to hire a business coach to help me with the process. And so when I hired this coach, something that she really stressed was the importance of personal branding, and then also creating content on LinkedIn as a way to get leads, meet new people, and get my business off the ground. So with that, in 2022, in January 2022, I left my old job and I started 400 Feet. And I just to make it clear that we all start at the same place. So in January 2022, I had approximately 500 LinkedIn followers, and I created my first LinkedIn post. And the idea of putting myself out there in that way was deeply uncomfortable, and it was something I was really stressed about. And I know that many people feel that way when posting on LinkedIn. So if the idea of creating content or putting yourself out there is making you feel uncomfortable, just know that everybody feels that way. And so it's not just you. But after I started in January, I decided that I needed to kind of get over the hump of being uncomfortable with doing it. So in February, I decided to challenge myself to post every single day for 30 days just to get in the habit of doing it. And after doing that, I found a rhythm, and it felt like things started to take off, and I started to figure out how to do it and created systems and stuff like that. So I posted like 4 days a week for the first 2 years or something on the platform. I've kind of slowed down a little bit in the past couple months. But you can kind of see I grew over time. So I went from 500 followers. 8 months later, I had 2,500 followers. Then I hit 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, and now I'm just over 26,000 followers. And so the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because if I can learn to leverage LinkedIn, so can you. As you've seen from my background, I studied like information science in grad school and undergrad. I come from a very technical background. I had no previous communications experience. I did not study marketing in school, and I learned everything I know about LinkedIn during the past 3 years. So if I can figure it out, you can definitely figure it out as well. And I just want to kind of put it in your head that LinkedIn is just another skill that you can add to your professional toolkit, and it is something that it can be learned. So just like you all are going out and learning how to collect data with drones, you're learning how to use the software, LinkedIn is just another part of your professional toolkit. And so you may be wondering, like, why use LinkedIn in the first place? Like, what is the purpose? And the purpose is, first off, it allows you to generate inbound leads. And so what inbound leads are people coming to you with projects as opposed to you having to go out and find projects. And so this allows you to land more clients more efficiently. And so for my own business, 400 Feet, in the past year, like 90% of the projects I've worked on have come from inbound leads, meaning people reaching out to me to work on their projects. LinkedIn also allows you to connect with really amazing people all over the world with similar interests. That's how I know Fimi, which is great. And now we connect every time we're in the same place, which is lovely. It also makes it easier for you to land new jobs and funding opportunities, because when you apply, people already know who you are. So you're like a warm applicant, and your application will go to the top of the pile. It allows you to get asked to speak at conferences and events, or you might get featured on podcasts. If you're somebody that hosts events, if you have a large following, it allows you to get more people to attend your events or your webinars. And overall, it allows you to increase your impact. So you're able to share your learning, share your work with more people. And that's just a handful of reasons. And so in today's course, what we're going to talk about is Personal Branding 101, strategic networking, how to create engaging content, the anatomy of a good post, metrics and analytics, and then I'm going to leave some time for Q&As if anybody has questions about the things that I covered. So to start, I wanted to share kind of this concept. So early in my career, I had a mentor who told me that professional success is like a three-legged stool, and it's made up of your technical skills, your personal brand, and your professional network. And the idea is that you need to have all three of these elements to be really strong if you want to be successful. However, most people in our society, we put so much emphasis on building out your technical skills, which is great and is very important, but it's not, technical skills alone aren't going to get you to where you want to be. Because the idea is, if you might be the most technically skilled person at what you're doing, data analysis, flying your drone, etc. But if you don't have a strong personal brand, if people don't know who you are and what you offer, you're not going to land a job, or you're not going to get hired. Similarly, you might have a great personal brand. You figured out, like, okay, I'm specializing in drones for agriculture and this specific crop type, and you have a solid personal brand, your website looks great, and you have amazing technical skills. But if you don't have a strong professional network that's going to help connect you to opportunities, it's going to be really hard to be successful. So you really, as you're building out your career, you really need to focus on improving all three of these areas. So what is personal branding, and why do you need one? So personal brand is essentially how you are known by others. And so there's a number of different elements of your personal brand. It can include your expertise. so your specific skills and knowledge, your identity, so who you are, what you stand for, if you have a particular mission that's really important to you. It can include your target audience, so who are the people that you help and what are the problems that you solve, as well as your personal story. And so I think at the end of the day, even though you want to share your technical skills with people, at the end of the day, people want to work with other people. So if you can add a bit of your personal story to the work that you're putting out in the world, that's going to really resonate with people, and people will have a stronger desire to work with you. And so the ultimate goal here is you want to be thoughtful about how you're presenting yourself to the world and the message that you're sharing. And then you want to create LinkedIn and like marketing assets so that people can look at your LinkedIn profile or your website and within like 30 seconds understand who you are, what you do, and who you help. And so the reason why you need a personal brand, so there's a saying out there that like everybody has a personal brand, whether you craft it or not, because you exist in the world. And so the idea is that you have a personal brand by default, and this is taking that step to be thoughtfully curating your personal brand. And the reason why you want to do this is because it allows you to stand out in a competitive market. It allows you to attract your ideal clients, and it makes it a whole lot easier to simplify and streamline your marketing efforts. So, for example, let's say you're starting a drone business, and at the beginning you're like, you know what, I'm gonna work with everybody. I'll do all sorts of projects. And then it's gonna be really hard when you go to try to find clients and pitch people, because every single time you pitch a company, you're going to have to send a completely different proposal with a completely different set of offerings. Because if you're trying to work in agriculture versus, doing inspections, like those are pretty different skill sets, and there's different ways you would want to market that. But if you position yourself as the expert in precision agriculture for like soybean farming or something like that, I'm just throwing that out, then any soybean farmer in your area, they will know that when they need work done, you're the person to go to, and that makes people come to you as opposed to you having to dedicate all of this time going out and finding people. And so one thing I do want to note is while we're talking about LinkedIn, the concept of a personal brand can be applied to whatever platform you're using. So it goes across Instagram or what your website looks like, etc. And so I want to take a moment to look at some examples from the drone industry of people who have really strong personal brands. So of course, Femi, who you all know, he is known, the Flying Farmer. He's done an excellent job of personal branding. When I think drones for precision agriculture, I think of Femi. And so what that means is anytime somebody reaches out to me and they're like, hey, do you know about this topic? Or I have a question, I send everybody, that's not an area where I'm an expert, so I send everybody to Femi. Similarly, there's a woman named Debbie Saunders, and she specializes in drones for wildlife conservation, and she's an expert in that area. And then there's Inno, who is a drone consultant and business coach. And so if you're looking to start a drone business, he's the person to go to. So you may be wondering, like, well, how does this play out in the real world? And how does this help me? And so I wanted to show you a couple of real life examples. So one thing I think is important to note in the drone industry, and I think in a lot of industries, a lot of opportunities are never formally posted. And instead, people land roles kind of through their networks. So an example of this, last year, somebody in my network named Melissa, who specializes, she at the time was based in the Maldives, and she specializes in using drones for conservation research. She created this LinkedIn post doing a brief like reintroduction of her background, what she's into, and she kind of like highlights her skill set. And so I saw this, and she's somebody that I connected to, and I filed it away in my head. And then a couple of months later, one of my contacts from the World Bank reached out to me, and they're like, "Hey, Kat, we're looking for somebody who specializes in, using drones for conservation in the Maldives. Do you know anybody?" And I was like, "Yes, I know exactly the person you're looking for." And so I shared Melissa's LinkedIn profile with them. I ended up making an introduction, and she landed that consulting opportunity. I don't think she ever applied for anything. That's kind of how the process happened behind the scenes. Similarly, there was another case where I was working. I was a judge on the Kenyan Drone Business Competition, and one of the participants was Peter. And after the event, he reached out to me, and he gave a brief introduction about how we know each other, and what his background is and what he's interested in. And so while at the time I didn't have any opportunities for him, a couple months later, I was looking for a freelance writer who specialized in drone content for a role that one of my partners was looking to fill. So I immediately thought of Peter. And so I reached out to him directly, and I ended up giving him the opportunity. And I think he ended up working on that job for like a year and a half. And so again, it was not something he never formally applied. I never posted a job position, but he was able to land that role. But again, the reason why he was able to land that role is he had a defined personal brand, where his is he's a drone pilot that is also a freelance writer. And so I knew, okay, I'm going to connect him to this opportunity. So in terms of my personal brand, so I really focus on all things drones for good. So I help researchers, NGOs, and social good organizations that want to leverage drones and spatial data to elevate their impact. And I have a set of organizations that are kind of like my target audience and the type of people that I want my content to resonate with them. And that's kind of like the ecosystem that I want to play in. And so the thing that is really helpful about defining your personal brand is it makes it a whole lot easier to use LinkedIn, because you know exactly what type of content you talk about and then what types of things you don't talk about. So for example, knowing that my personal brand is Drones for Good, things that I talk about on LinkedIn are medical drone delivery projects. I talk about drones for reforestation, disaster management. I talk about the importance of localization. I like a lot of people in my audience really care about peer-reviewed research. And so, because I know that, that's something that I focus on sharing. And then there's a whole swath of things that I don't talk about, but they're completely valid personal brands. They're just not my personal brand. So I don't talk about drones for military use cases. I don't talk about US or EU drone regulations. I don't talk about drones for construction or real estate, etc. But these are all totally valid personal brands and topics to talk about if they're related to your personal brand. So then it's getting into how do you strategically build your personal brand? And so the first step is to do a little self-discovery. So you want to ask yourself the following questions. How do you describe what you do or what you want to do? What is your why? So why do you want to do the type of work that you want to do? What would you like to be known for? How would you describe your ideal audience and client? And then what problems do you solve or what value do you bring? And it's really helpful to just kind of like journal or jot down some ideas, and your personal brand, it can kind of be shaped over time. And something I do want to note, when you're early in your career, or even if you're in the middle of a transition period, some of these things might be more aspirational than what you do today, but it's something that you want to divide. You want to craft your personal brand for who you want to be, rather than who you are right at this moment. Because by putting out what the types of work that you want to do in the future, it's going to help attract those opportunities. And so this is just like an example of how you might think about building your personal brand. So within the drone industry, if that's your focus, you can have niche down by thinking about, okay, what role is it that you're looking for in the drone industry? Is it that you really want to be a drone service provider? Do you want to be a drone operator? Do you want to be a consultant? Are you a geospatial expert? Are you an engineer? So select, where do you fit in the industry? Then you want to identify, what are the topics that you share about? So is it drones for precision agriculture? Is it a specific part of precision agriculture? Is it one of these other topics? Is your personal brand associated with a particular location? So maybe, you're focusing on, for instance, you are a geospatial drone expert that works in like conservation in Nigeria. That could be your personal brand. And then you can also think about who are the clients that you want to serve. So are you trying to work with government agencies, construction companies, NGOs, farmers, power companies, etc.? So you want to identify your clients. And then you can create a personal brand statement that kind of encapsulates the work, who you are and the work that you do. So for example, I'm a drone service provider that works with environmental NGOs on reforestation projects in Brazil. Or I'm a consultant that specializes in drone regulations that works with governments in sub-Saharan Africa. Or I'm a drone operator that specializes in precision agriculture and works with farmers in Zambia. And so you want to figure out how do you create a statement like that is unique and authentic to you. And so once you've kind of defined what your personal brand is, then you want to build out your personal brand assets. And so what these are, you want to have like a 30-second elevator pitch where you can, within 30 seconds, tell somebody who you are, what you do, what your background is, etc. You then want to update your LinkedIn headline. You want to update your about section, your website homepage if you have one, your website about page if you have one. And again, I think it's really important to note that your personal brand can and will evolve over time. And so I think it can be, especially when you're niching down, it can be really scary to get specific because it feels like you're like shutting doors. But actually, it's going to make your life a whole lot easier. And your personal brand is not fixed. It is something that can evolve and change over time. So you can kind of pick out your personal brand and start working on it and try something out for like 3 months. And if it doesn't feel right, you can always evolve it and change it over time. And so to show you an example of that, like previously, my personal brand that I was putting out into the world was that I was a product manager that works with global health tech companies. And over time, I've evolved that to being, I'm a drone consultant that helps social good organizations leverage drone technology. So now that we know everything about personal branding, I want you to look at your LinkedIn profile and maybe screenshot this checklist. And I want you to ask yourself, do you have a high quality profile picture? Is your profile picture close up? So like, can people see your face? You don't want to have a profile picture that's so far away that if you saw somebody in person or at an event that they wouldn't be able to identify you. Do you have a banner section at the top of your LinkedIn profile? Have you optimized your headline? Is your about section telling a story that aligns with your personal brand? Is your featured section optimized? And do you have creator mode on? So now we'll kind of go into those different things. So I pulled my industry peer Inno's profile as well, but here are some examples of how you optimize your LinkedIn profile. So you can see that we both have banners that are aligned with our personal brands. Mine kind of has these statements of, I'm a consultant, creator, connector. His has a line where he has like his mission. So he's helping drone entrepreneurs streamline their business model and generate more leads. So you can see within 30 seconds, you know what Inno does. It also has calls to action. So, my call to action is to download the Drones for Good guide. His is to join his 8-week program. You might want to include credibility markers if you have it. If you have like lead magnets or ways to like attract people, you can include links to those. And then you want to optimize your headline so it provides information about who you are and what you do. So now we're going to shift from personal branding to strategic networking. So it's really important to curate your network. And it's helpful to know that the way that LinkedIn works is that when somebody likes your LinkedIn post, it shows that post, LinkedIn will show that post to others in that person's audience. So it means that LinkedIn can have this like exponential impact where if your connections are with the right people and people with similar interests, then it's easier to grow your network. But with that, it is really important to make sure that your followers are made up of your target audience. Otherwise, you'll have really low engagement, meaning that people won't like your posts or leave comments, etc. Something that I often see happen is there will be somebody who's trying to leverage LinkedIn for the first time, or maybe they're pivoting from one industry to the other, and they start creating LinkedIn content, and their content is amazing, but it's not getting any engagement. Nobody's liking it. And the reason why this is happening, it has nothing to do with the quality of the post that they're putting out. It's that the content that they're putting out does not align with who's in their audience. So for example, if the only people in your LinkedIn audience are, let's say, people that you used to work with in a different industry, let's say finance, but now you're like, hey, I want to pivot my career and now I want to be working in precision agriculture. If you start posting content about precision agriculture on LinkedIn and your followers are only people interested in finance, they're not going to engage with your post and it's going to be hard to get traction. But if you go out and you proactively start connecting with people who are also interested in precision agriculture or farmers or different people in that ecosystem, then when you create content, you're going to get all of this engagement because you're sharing it with people that are interested in that type of work. And so with that, especially at the beginning of when you're first starting to use LinkedIn, it's really important to seed your audience with the right type of people. And so how you can go about doing this is kind of identifying like what are groups where the type of people that you're interested in connecting with, what types of groups are they a part of, and how can you kind of like figure out where those people are hanging out. So for example, when I made the transition from working in digital health to the drone industry, I found these different groups and I sent a connection request and a message to every single person that was in the World Food Program Drone Technical Working Group, every single person that was a member of UpDog, every single person who worked at one of the Flying Labs networks, every person that attended the Drones for Development conference, etc. And so while this was a lot of work upfront to make these connections, it had like this exponential effect on my career and on LinkedIn, like getting more traction. One thing to note is I think that there's a limit where you can only connect with like 100 people a week. So something that you could consider doing is creating just like a list of people that you want to connect with, and maybe organize them based on priority, and then send like 10 connection requests a day. And you might be wondering, like, well, what do I say? Like, how do I do this? So here's a template message that I used, and you can use a similar message to reach out to people. So how I did this, I wrote a message that said, "Hey, person's name, I noticed that you also attended the Drones for Disaster Management conference," or I also noticed that you're part of the World Food Program Technical Working Group. I'm always looking to connect with others working in the drone industry. I look forward to following your work on LinkedIn. And the reason why this message works is it provides enough context for the person to accept the request, so they understand, why is this person connecting with me? But it also makes it clear that you don't necessarily need something from that person. It's just more like casual, because something that you don't want to do is you don't necessarily want to send a connection request and then like immediately send them a message that says like, "Hey, I want a job." Like, that's really kind of tacky, and you don't want to be doing this. So this is like a tactful way to make that connection. So when you're thinking about curating your network, I would encourage you to answer the following questions for yourself. What type of people would it be most valuable to have in your audience? Is it people working in the drone industry? Is it farmers? Is it different NGOs? Different, like, thinking about what is relevant for your career. Then thinking about what types of groups do these people belong to? Do they work at particular organizations? Do they attend particular events? Do they follow specific people? If there are people that you see are industry leaders, so Femi, for example, you can go and you can look at all the people that follow Femi on LinkedIn, and you can scan his followers, and you'll probably find lots of relevant, interesting people. So once you do that, then I want you to create a list of the people that you want to reach out to, and then create a kind of template outreach message, and then connect with 10 people a week. I will note that you don't have to do this forever, but it really helps, especially in the first 6 months or a year as you're trying to leverage the platform. It can help you get a lot more traction and meet really cool people. I also want to share, this is more of an advanced strategy, but this is, I think, one of the most valuable ways to use LinkedIn. So if you go on your LinkedIn and you go up to the search button and you type in somebody's name, you can you can filter the search. So it'll show posts. And then you go to all filters, and then you can put particular people or companies, and then you show results. And what this will return is it's basically like a custom feed that just shows the posts from the people that you are interested in. And then you can save the URL, and you can bookmark it. And so the reason why this is helpful is it means that the people that you care about, you'll never miss a post from them, and you can be really efficient with your LinkedIn usage. You don't have to sit there and scroll for hours, because with this method, it'll stop as soon as you run out of posts. So you could get in a habit of spending 10 minutes a day checking the posts of important people that you care about, and you can open up the bookmark, you quickly scan it, you comment on relevant posts, things that are interested to you, and then you can log off, and it's really quick and easy. And so something that's really helpful is you can create these custom lists for, maybe you'll have a bookmarked list of like different thought leaders that you want to follow, or industry peers, or existing clients, or people that you would like to be your client, or donors or funders. And that way you can be consistently making sure you're consistently engaging with them. And that helps you stay top of mind for that individual and like build that relationship. Okay, now we're going to shift into creating engaging content. So you may be asking yourself, do I even need to create content? And the answer is, if you're an employee at an organization, you may not need or want to create content on LinkedIn. However, if you are a founder, CEO, managing director, part of business partnerships, business development, sales, if you're a consultant, if you would like to become a thought leader in the industry, creating content on LinkedIn is going to make your job a whole lot easier. And the reason is as I mentioned before, when you're creating consistent content, new potential clients or partners are going to be learning about your work at scale. So when you post, like, some of my posts on LinkedIn, they've been shown to like 50,000 people. And so if I'm trying to land a new client, that's all of these potential new projects from a single post. And once people follow you, you'll stay in their feed and you'll stay top of mind for them. And so when they do have an opportunity that matches, your skills and your personal brand, they can reach out to you. So the first step of creating content is to identify what is your end game? Like, what is your goal that you're trying to achieve? Because I think a big trap that people fall into sometimes is they're creating content for the sake of creating content, and they're posting like cat videos or a photo of their dog on LinkedIn. And like, you want to be asking yourself, every post that you share, it should have a specific purpose. Like, it should be, helping you like showcase the type of your offering. It should help you connect with a new potential client. Like, you want to be thoughtful about like, why are you posting a particular post and what are you hoping to achieve? And so, these are some of the outcomes you might want to achieve. So it's helpful to think about like, what are you trying to do? And kind of with that, I think it's important to recognize that your follower count on LinkedIn or any social media platform, it is purely a vanity metric. So while it feels good to be like, oh yeah, I have a lot of LinkedIn followers, like LinkedIn followers or Instagram followers, TikTok followers, they do not equate to money in the bank necessarily, or like outcomes that mean things. So you can be really successful and have a huge impact and have a thriving business and have a small number of LinkedIn followers. You just need to get hyper specific about who you're targeting and the content that you're putting out there. So then you might be wondering, like, okay, I know what my personal brand is. What the topics are. I know who I'm trying to connect with. But what do I talk about? And like, how do I go about creating content? And my biggest piece of advice is to use this concept called Steal Like an Artist. So there's this book named Steal Like an Artist. And what the author talks about is this idea that if you go out and you pull inspiration from, a dozen different sources, and you figure out, okay, like, what are all the different elements of other people's work that I really like and that I want to replicate? And then you bring them all together and you kind of mix and match, you'll create something that is uniquely you. So you can do this exercise where identify like 10 individuals or companies that you think do LinkedIn really well, or that might have a similar audience to you, and go and review their posts and kind of analyze, like why do you like their content? What is it about it that you think that they do well? Is it like the type of graphic that they show? Do you like that, their posts are funny, or maybe they write in a particular way, they format the post in a particular way that you really like, and just jot down notes about what you think works well. Then something you can also do is go through and review their top, scroll through their profile from the past 6 months or something, and identify what are their top 10 performing posts. So which ones did the best, and look at the posts and kind of analyze why do you think that performed well? Was it that topic really resonated with people, or that image was really great, and try to figure out why did that work? And then through that, create a list of content ideas that you want to try. And then it's really just an experiment process to figure out, what type of content your audience likes. So it's usually pretty obvious, now I have a pretty good sense of what type of posts are going to do well and which ones will flop. But at the beginning, it's just a matter of throwing things out there and testing. And the more content that you put out, the easier it is, because you realize, because you shift your frame of reference, and it just feels like you're just experimenting and you're seeing what resonates and what doesn't. And then it's also really important to figure out what type of content you personally like creating. So for instance, I know that videos perform really well on LinkedIn, but I hate recording videos, and I don't want to edit videos, and it takes a lot of time, and it just is not something that brings me joy. And so I know that if I forced myself to create video posts on LinkedIn, it would make me not ever want to do it. So that's why I'm figure out I really love writing. So for me, more written posts is something that I enjoy creating. So you got to figure out what works for you. Conversely, you might be somebody who you hate writing, but you love recording videos, and that is something that you can do really quick and it's easy for you. Great, do that. So after you've done that exercise, something that's really helpful for long-term efficiency is defining a set of content pillars. And so what content pillars are basically just categories of types of posts that you're going to share on LinkedIn. And so how I've kind of shifted over the past couple months, but for the first 2.5 years of me creating content on LinkedIn, I created this system where every month I would do a deep dive on a different Drones for Good topic. And I had a set of posts that I would do every single month. So I'd have one post where I introduced the topic. I'd have another post where I'd share related resources related to that topic. So I'd talk about drones for medical drone delivery, and I'd share all the resources I knew about related to that topic, for instance. And this just makes it a lot easier to create content, because when you're sitting down to write something, you're not just looking at a blank page. Okay, it's Tuesday, and so I'm going to be sharing my Drones for Good job post, because I share that every Tuesday, and you have a system for these types of posts. Or if you're a business owner, you might know that okay, on Wednesdays, I do a behind the scenes post, or I post a photo from us working with drones out in the field. And so what you can do is you can, next time you're out in the field, you can go take a dozen photos, and then you can have a folder on your computer with these different content pillars that's all ready with all of the images. So that when it comes time to post, you already know that okay, these are my field photos I share on Wednesdays. So that's a system, and I'm happy in the Q&A section to kind of dive into this more detail, but this is a strategy that's really helpful. The other thing that I want to highlight is that when you're creating content, Your content should either provide educational value, it should like be entertaining in some way, or it should inspire. So when you're creating content and about to put something out, I'd want to ask, okay, is this educational? Is it entertaining? Or is it inspiring? And at the end of the day, the most important thing is you want to be adding value to the people, to your audience through your content. And a pro tip is that if you can create content that is highly shareable, it's going to allow you to get your content seen by more people. So within your content strategy, you might have a viral style post that the sole purpose of that post is that it's going to get shared a lot because yeah. And so, for example, in my content strategy, I share these Drones for Good job posts. And for me, these posts often get dozens and dozens of shares whenever I do them. And I get all of these new followers from these posts. So even though I'm not necessarily looking for a job, I curate this list because it adds value to my community and it gets a ton of new people onto my page. And so if you can think about, what is something that you might be able to create that adds a lot of value that will get a lot of shares. Another question that you might have when you're starting is, should I be posting from my personal LinkedIn account or from my company LinkedIn account? And it's really important to kind of understand how the LinkedIn platform works. So LinkedIn as a company, it makes money by charging companies to boost posts. So what that means, if you go on my LinkedIn, you'll see that, and this is unique to my company, but I never post anything for my 400 feet LinkedIn page. I only post things through Kat James on LinkedIn. And the reason why is because the way that the LinkedIn algorithm works is that if for every 100 posts that somebody sees, they will see only 2% are company posts that are not paid. Then they'll see I think it's maybe 50% individual posts coming pages that are paid posts. So that means if you are creating content and you're sharing it from your company page, nobody will see it. And it's not necessarily that it's a bad thing to do because it can be helpful. Good to do, but it's recognizing that you're probably not going to get leads from that company page. So if you can do both, if you can be posting the same, so you can post the same post from your company page and from your personal page, but let's say you have 5,000 followers on your personal page and 5,000 followers on your company page. If you post the same post, your individual post will receive 10,000 views and your company page might receive 300. So there's an exponential difference, which is really important to know. So therefore, you'll gain a lot more traction if you're posting from your personal page. I hope that answers that question. Yeah, and then the other thing that I want to share is that when you're creating content, it's really helpful to batch it. So creating a number of posts at one time and then kind of scheduling them out. So, we're all busy people, and especially if you're working out in the field, you might not, by the time you get home and you get on your computer, it's late in the day, you don't have time to write a post. So the best way to make sure that you can stay consistent is just to block off time in your week and sit down, write a handful of LinkedIn posts, and then schedule them so that they can go out even if you're not around. With that though, something that is helpful to know is that timing really matters with LinkedIn. So the first like 60 to 90 minutes of when you post is really critical, because basically, depending on how many people engage with the post, LinkedIn will determine like, okay, this post is highly relevant to people, and it'll start showing it to even more people. Or if it gets low engagement in that first 60-minute window, then it'll be like, this post isn't really that interesting, and it will stop showing the post to people. So with that, you want to make sure that you're posting at a time where the majority of the people in your audience will be online. So meaning like, don't post at 10 at night, because probably nobody will see the post that you're putting out. And then with that, so blocking off some time to create your posts, and then set aside, it could be 30 minutes, it could be less. Like throughout the week, just create like a couple of time blocks in your calendar where you're going out and actually engaging with others on LinkedIn. You're leaving comments, you're responding to comments on your own posts, you're connecting with people in your sector. And, again, this is how you start to cultivate those relationships. And then just really quickly, I wanted to review the anatomy of a good post. So there are some things that kind of will make or break a post. So one thing to note is that a lot of people are viewing LinkedIn posts on their phone. And what happens when somebody's viewing LinkedIn on mobile is it often will just show the first line, and then it has like a read more button. And so what you want to do, the first line is like the most important line of the LinkedIn post, because if it's not interesting and engaging, people aren't going to click the read more, and then they won't read the rest of the post that you spent so much time writing. So what you want to do is write like what we call a hook as your first line, or like something that's going to get somebody to click read more. So, in this post I did like, this is huge, and I had arrows. So people were like, oh, what is it? And then they click it. Or you might ask a question, or like have a provocative statement or something like that. So that's important. Then something that's really important as well is to format the post so that it is easily readable and skimmable. So if you just post like a standard block of text in a paragraph form, like it's going to be really difficult to read, and people aren't actually going to read it. They're just going to skim over it. So what you want to do, I recommend having like only one sentence per line and spacing it out so it's easier to read. This is old. I think LinkedIn has recently discontinued hashtags. So yeah, you don't need to necessarily do that in the past, you don't have to do that anymore. And then in this post, like, I think the other reason why this post performed well is because I know that my target audience really likes peer-reviewed research. I know what they care about. So as this was like deeply aligned, it got a lot of reshares, and you can see it was reposted 21 times. It received 177 likes, and it was viewed by 13,000 people. And so you can kind of see why that worked. Some other just kind of tips and tricks to know. The first is tag with care. So tagging, or like doing at people in your posts, can either really help or really hurt your posts. So if you tag people and then they engage with the post, like they like it, they leave a comment, then LinkedIn will be like, oh, this post is really valuable, and it will start showing it to more people. Conversely, if the people that you tag in your post don't engage with that post, LinkedIn, the algorithm is going to mark it as spam, like you're spamming people, and it will stop showing that post to people. So especially if you're tagging like companies that might not have like an active communications person that's like reviewing their social media tags, like if you're tagging companies that aren't going to engage with your post, it can really reduce the visibility of your post. So I definitely recommend just tag with care. And then also if there is a post that is like really important that it performs well, or if you really want it to be seen by people, feel free to just send it to some peers and ask them to engage early. Like I do this all the time. If there's specific, like events or reports that come out and I really want to make sure that people in my network see it, I'll send them the post on WhatsApp and be like, hey, like, would you mind engaging with this? And that's totally normal and can really help. And then just making LinkedIn a habit and part of your weekly schedule and workflow. I know it probably sounds like a lot, but once you create a system, you can do all of this really efficiently. So maybe spend 1 to 2 hours creating content, and then like 15 minutes 3 times a week engaging and like reviewing LinkedIn and liking people's posts. And then we kind of already covered those things. And then finally, if you get into creating content, there's a bunch of really cool analytics platforms that you can get to kind of analyze how your LinkedIn posts are performing. So I use this one called Shield AI, and it allows you to kind of see the different posts. You can see how they performed in terms of there's impressions. So that's like the number of people that see your post. There's engagement. So the number of people who like your post, comments, shares, etc. So that can be really helpful to help you understand like what's working and what's not working. And then it also allows you to see who is viewing your post. So for instance, one of my posts, of the people, the people that saw the post were from Zipline, World Food Program, UNICEF, One Acre Fund, the World Bank, a Civil Aviation Authority, etc. And so I kind of know that yes, that is in line with who my target audience is and the type of people that I want to connect with. So I know that post is working. And so I want to create more content like that. So now we're at the Q&A session. I know that I just shared a lot of information, so I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Just let me know. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Ms. Kat. Sincerely, this is a really worthwhile ride. I mean, it's an interesting masterclass. Sharing the nooks and cranny, I would say it's the nooks and cranny of LinkedIn. Yeah, how you can actually, because you made mention of so many key things that one needs to pay attention to. Even on my LinkedIn journey too, I'm trying to adjust. I actually learned a whole lot from that. I'm actually not surprised the number of your followers. I know people who even have more followers than you do, but particularly I think one thing that stood out for me is that ever since I've got to know you on LinkedIn, you bring so much value to the global drone community, not just you write, especially in the aspect of life-saving medical. You write content, you consult for people. Just make things work. So you try to be like being in the engine room of how things have been. It's really good to have you here. Thanks so much. We are sincerely grateful for you making it this time. It's really a pleasure to have you once again. Okay, so to our viewers and participants, here we have personal and corporate branding leveraging LinkedIn, and you've all heard it from Ms. Kat James. I mean, she really did a very great justice to the topic, giving us various kinds of expositions and strategies and principles that we can actually leverage to be on the global stage out there using the LinkedIn platform. So if you have any question, maybe you are new on LinkedIn, there are certain things you do not really understand and how to navigate your journey. This is a masterclass on its own that you can always refer to pick yourself up from where you need to. It's full of a whole lot of updates and strategies. Okay, so you can do well to drop your question. If you have any question, please drop them so she can attend to them before she leaves. Uh,
Yeah, happy to answer any questions. There are no silly questions. I'm an open book, happy to share anything about my journey.
Okay, if you have any
And
question
yeah,
you want to ask her, so do well to reach out to.
I also know that it is a Friday afternoon, evening, so.
Yes, yeah. Thank God it's Friday, so
Yeah.
I believe we are getting into the weekend already. So
So I see Josh
yeah.
asked the question, how can we optimize LinkedIn in terms of engagement? So
Okay.
my answer to that question, so a couple of things. First, you want to make sure that your content is aligned with your audience and it's adding a lot of value. So for instance, like the more valuable your post is, the more people are going to like it. So like, for instance, like if I'm like on my post when I curate like drones for good job lists, for instance, and those tend to get a lot of engagement because they're really helpful and people appreciate that I'm sharing these resources. That versus like if I just created a post where I'm like, hey, like hanging out in my home office today, and I just have a selfie, like that might not get as much engagement. So it's about knowing who your audience is and like delivering a lot of value. That's step one. Other things like making sure that you're posting at the right time of day. So knowing who's your target audience and when are they most likely to be online, and posting at that time, that increases engagement, as well as sometimes if you just need some like if there's a post that's really important, so maybe you're sharing a new offer or you're having an event and you really want people to come and stuff like that, if you share it with some friends and ask them to like the post and you can get some early engagement, that can also do big things for your post, and it'll make it so that if you can like share it with 15 people in your network, like via WhatsApp or something, be like, hey, like this is a really important post, would you mind engaging? Then LinkedIn sees that early traction and then they'll start showing it to more people. So you don't necessarily need to do that for every post, but that's a great way to increase engagement on those critical posts that you're putting out there. Any other follow-up questions
Okay.
on that, or yeah, let me know if that answered your question.
Okay. Thank you so much for the answer. So if you have any other question, she's asking now, so she can give a response to it. Thanks, Josh underscore illuminate, for answering that question. So yeah, we're still here. We're still here, available to answering your question. So ask any question in relation to LinkedIn, whether you're a beginner or you've been on LinkedIn for some time, or you're trying to still find it hard in getting your feet there, so you can do well to speak up now. So
Yeah, any questions? And maybe while we're waiting, I'd love to ask you, what do you find the most challenging about LinkedIn? Do you have any elements that you find difficult or that you'd like to improve?
okay, so speak up if you find anything challenging on LinkedIn or any features that you do not really understand. or maybe how to navigate your way around it. So do well to speak up. She's actually here to answer you before she leaves. I think she has other engagements immediately after this class, so she has to be here just to share from her world of experience with us. Okay. Uh, so in 3 minutes time, so if we don't get any question, I will assume that we've gradually come to the end of this master class. But you can do well to always reach out. Okay. A question
Thank you,
from Josh
Josh.
again. In your own expertise in LinkedIn, what kind of content performs well on LinkedIn? Okay.
Yeah, so I think, again, this totally depends on what your audience is and like what your personal brand is. So for instance, like one of my kind of core pillars of my own personal brand is that I work to like elevate the work of other women working in the drone industry, and that's something that's really important to me. And I think also through that, I have a lot of women working in the drone industry in my audience. And so, like, I know that when I create posts that like promote and hype up other women, they perform really well and people like that content. But if that was not a core part of my personal brand or part of the work that I'm putting out in the world, it might not perform that well. So it's important to know like what you're trying to achieve, like what your specific uh, goal is, and like what and who's in your audience and what they care about. Um, for instance, like posts that perform well more generally, though, yeah, like sharing opportunities. People love that. People love when you connect them to new people that maybe they don't know about. So like featuring other people's work, like explaining topics in an easy digestible format. Like people love learning bite-sized pieces of information. So if they can look at your post and they feel like they walked away smarter than before they saw the post, like those posts tend to perform really well. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. It really just depends on who your audience is, and then like playing around and testing it and see what resonates most with them.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right. So if we don't have any other question, so I think we've really exceeded our time for this class. Thank you so much, Miss Kat, for joining. Thanks so much for sharing. We are sincerely grateful for you joining us as a speaker in this second cohort of the Precision Agriculture Incubation Program 2014. So gradually coming to the end of this program too. So next week Monday we'll be having practicals out through to Wednesday. So sharing the field experience, drone building, or simulation, mapping, spraying operations, and all of these things in relation to drones. So it's really a good one. Thank God, yeah, for helping us this far. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've finally come to the end of this training or this masterclass, personal and corporate branding, leveraging LinkedIn. And I believe maybe if you don't want to speak up now, you can always refer to this masterclass and go over it once again. So, I think to refresh yourself, you're still going to gain something that will really help you. Alright, so we've rather come to the end of this training. And the stream is ending now. So thank you so much everyone for joining. Thanks Ms. Kat once again. And we'll catch up with you some other time. Have a good time to yourself. Have a great week.
Amazing. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Alright. Yeah, bye. Alright, so bye everyone. I'm going to drop a message on the group again. So Monday, we meet at FUNAB, that's Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, Ogun State, Nigeria, for our practicals. Basically, we are using Call Bios Broad Room, that is College of Biological Science, Call Bios. Well, I'll still drop the information on the group again. I dropped it yesterday, so anyways, so once again, for people complaining about the change, the sudden change we had in the date, so we apologize. It's actually developing that actually come up, so and for us to actually use it, so we just have to agree to that, so from the university community. But it's fine, so let's just do it. Meet on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we round up. All right, do have a good time to yourself. All, bye for now.